In this video, we look at how a sentence is constructed when speaking of events that have been completed in the past and may also continue in the present, otherwise known as the present perfect tense, sorry. So we're then going to look at the Bosworth-Toller dictionary to find evidence for this format in the form of 24 randomly chosen examples. Okay, so looking back to the second video in this series, on speaking and writing Old English, the format of sentences, clauses, sentences. A clause can be a sentence, stand as a sentence in its own right. We'll look to the format in verb second and then second and third verbs going to the end. And then in the second video, we looked at what happens when we're talking about past tense. We wish to speak of actions that have happened in the past and still related to the present, such as actions that are still continuing or show a change over time. And then we use this format below, which is one down the bottom here. So your general sentence, you have a subject, verb in the second place, as in automatic languages, then objects and adverbials and so on. And then the past participle of the main verb would go in the end here. When we speak in the present tense, this would be the infinitive or non-conjugated verb. Unconjugated verb would go in the end here. But when we speak about the past tense or events in the past, we must put the past participle in the form. So to form the past tense, we use a helping or auxiliary verb, haben or been, along with the past participle form of the main verb in the clause or sentence. So we use have, has, plus the past participle. We do that in modern English too, where the past participle comes immediately after the helping verb or auxiliary verb, as in, I have read the book. The past participle of read is read. And so in modern English today, we have the verb in second place and then the past participle next to it. I have read the book. I mean, you could say in modern English, I have the book read. We'd all know what you mean, but generally we say the past participle follows immediately after the second verb. Whereas in Old English, it went to the end. So we would have ich habe the book geraden. And the past participle form would go here. And that's to show this is an action that's been completed in the past, and it still continues into the present because it is a completed action I can refer to. So I'm going to have a look at some examples. Okay, so that's the claim, and that's certainly the case in modern German. But how can we really be sure that this structure of past participle being at the end of the clause or the sentence, how can we be sure that's true in Old English? And any of the other things claimed in the videos in this thing, how can we be sure? Well, there is a method we can use. It's just a random sampling method. And we're going to use Bosworth-Toller dictionary to do that. But let me just remind you here, the conjugated auxiliary verb goes into the second place. Conjugated verb here, first person past tense. I habe, ich habe, the book, geraden, raden or geraden, past participle of the main verb. So I have read the book. And the past participle is placed at the end of the clause, end of the main clause. Now, so let's use the Bosworth-Toller dictionary to support this claim that the past participle of the verb goes to the end of the clause. What's the evidence for that? Any of these claims can be checked. Just go back to the Bosworth-Toller, just do a random search and you'll see a pattern repeating itself. So let's just start here. So the method I'm going to show you shortly. What I did is the examples below drawn from a random search of Bosworth-Toller. I meant to show how the past participle form of verbs are used when speaking of actions occurring in the past. That's past present perfect. That is, the first verb in a clause or sentence is in its conjugated form, and the second verb goes to the end in its past participle form. So we have here, if we look at Bosworth-Toller here for quethen, meaning to say, speak, call, proclaim. Okay, its various conjugated forms are here. And past participle form, pp dot, is coeden. Okay, so what we need to do then is we look through here. Is the past participle form given? Yes, it is. Here's the past participle form. It is coeden. Is there an example given of its use to show that the past participle goes to the end of a clause or sentence? Well, there just happens to be one. That is well coeden. That is well spoken. Okay. you can see that this was something that's occurred in the past is now completed. And that fact remains true and is ongoing in the present. That is well spoken. So it has been spoken well. Okay, so that's what we do there. So what I did for that is I went through and I found 24 examples just by this random searching, and I'll demonstrate the random searching and the parameters for that random searching. And you'll see that there's a consistent pattern there of putting the past participle at the end of the clause when speaking of events in the past, complete in the past. So, for instance, here's yawerathan, to be made, become, happen. This is a common verb. So let me just show you the method here before I come back. Okay, opens up. Thank you very much. I don't think I want two of them open. There's no need for that. So here, let's put in a search. All I did was just think up verbs at random, literally at random. What could I think up? Become, aware than. Well, let's go search. And this is all I did. So here's our verb. Okay, aware than. Thing I was looking for, it must indicate what form the past participle takes. So here it is, geworden. Okay, that is the past participle. Secondly, after doing that, it must also give me an example of its use. So there must be some use, and Bosworth-Toller is very good this way. So let's have a look. Can I find I need geworden, and it needs to be at the end of the clause. So I look through like this. I look through, and what am I going to find? There it is. That word was flash geworden. And I like my macrons in a particular way. I'll have it there. And we'd find it again. Geworden. That word was flesh. Geworden. The word was made flesh. Okay. The word was made. Geworden flesh. Okay. So the word was made flesh. Common from the Bible, so easy to interpret. And an example there of it at the end. Okay, now you may be wondering, well, what's happening down here? I'll come back to that later because sometimes the past participle can look like the past tense subjunctive. So just got to be careful of that too. But you can see clearly at the end of the clause, the word was made flesh. In modern English, the word was made flesh. We know that phrase from the beginning of the Bible and also from John as well, beginning of John, as well as the beginning of the Bible in Genesis. So we know what it's trying to say, but notice that the made bit, the word was made, the second verb has been put to the end in its past participle form. We know it's past participle because it tells us up here. We're looking for the past participle form. Worden. Okay, now, next thing, I could look for a different verb. Let me, so all I did is a random search. I could think of another verb like to ride, redone, ride, to ride. Let's have a look. Will this form an example for me? There's the verb there. Open it up. Okay, first thing you notice, there is no stated past participle form. The actual form, if you look up in other dictionaries, is reden, that is the past participle form, but it's not stated here. And if we look here, we don't see any examples of it either. So this verb is now excluded from the search. What I am, okay, and then I follow on and keep going. Okay, so that's the method. Just go to Bosworth-Toller, pull a verb out of your head, find the Old English form of it, look it up. Has it got a past participle stated? There's the form of the past participle stated, and then there's an example from past documents, from the documents of the era, manuscripts of the era. Is there an example of it given? Okay, so let's now go back. Okay, so where are we here? Yawerathan. Okay, and then under Yawerathan, there are a couple of examples as I went through them. Huthana kumbo wichan have the Yawarden, how it had befallen the warrior. Thea Romana have the Yawarden that, though the Romans had agreed that. That is a conjunction here, a subordinating conjunction, so it's bringing in a bit after, but Yawarden there is a past participle, so it's the end of that clause. Then there's a conjunction and so on, some other words after that. That word was flesh Yawarden. Okay, the word was made flesh. We've been through that. And then Bosworth-Toller gives you some other documents and so on where it comes from that era manuscripts. Let's have a look at another word, arkenin, to bring forth, produce, beget, renew. Gregorius was of Ethelbarre Maither Arkenid. Gregory was born of a noble family. Thona Simona Bith Arkenid, when the moon is changed. Okay, the past participle form here is Kened, ed on the end. So we need some examples where there's a clause or a sentence where Kened is on the end, and sure enough, they're there to be found. There's two of them. Another random search, let's pick up another word. So that to bring forth, produce, beget was the next one. Next on my list I could think of was Yawurdan, to hurt, to injure. Sometimes I have to scratch around the dictionaries to find another verb to look up, but there's a pattern continually being repeated. Look for it. The past participle form has the ed on the end, so you were dead. Okay, so have de he hungar and thirst her you were dead. Okay, have they been afflicted with hunger and thirst most severe? Okay, comes from the Psalms there. But notice here on the end of the clause or the sentence is the past participle form. And notice the helping verb, the auxiliary verb have to have, okay, there. So that word got included in the list. I just kept going like that. And again and again, as you'll see, the pattern just keeps coming up. The past participle form, speaking in the past tense, simply goes to the end. Here's another one. Yuurkan. Okay, to make, work, build, form, dispose, do, perform, celebrate, commit. He nuswa well with rite yawarch swa he was. He is not so well disposed to me as he was. Now, the past participle form is ye, warcht. There is yawarcht. Notice there's words following after. Now, swa is a subordinating conjunction. So this is the beginning of a new clause. Swa onwards is the beginning of a new clause. The main clause, the independent clause, the primary clause, is here. These words here from he nu swa well with rita yawarcht. And notice that the past participle is at the end of that clause. Okay, when speaking in the past tense, the second verb in the sentence or clause goes to the end in its past participle form, and we're collecting more and more evidence. And we're simply doing it through a random search. We're not picking the words that fit. We're simply doing a random search, but this continual pattern will keep coming through. Next word, arsaken. Okay, to seek, search, or seek out, to seek, to acquire, demand. Okay, the past participle form is arsocht. And so, okay, so past participle format is given, so great, that's fantastic. Now, we need to look down the list and see if there's an example that I can put on this video, and sure enough, there is one. Mitzwa Mitchell Faraseo Nusa Waslas Lichaman Kalanesa Asocht. Okay, with such great care was the body's purity sought. All right, keep going. And just a random search was producing example after example. Some were being excluded because the past participle form wasn't given or there were no examples given. Continually the same pattern keeps coming up. Aheben, to heave up, lift up, raise, elevate, exalt, ferment, so on. Okay, the past participle form is ahaven. Okay, Ulth he was el ahaven, until he was entirely exalted. Okay, another random search, here we go. Yagungun. Okay, the past participle form is yagungen or yagongen, to go, happen, take place, befall, to fall to one's share, to come in. Okay, he have the el na yagongen, comma, marking the beginning now of a subordinate clause. That is the subordinating conjunction, so you have the next clause. So the end of the primary or main or independent clause is ended with the past participle form, you're gone again, okay, as up here. He had affected by his valor that. Okay. Often the Bosworth-Toller will give you the modern English definition, but sometimes it just gives you Latin, and so I've included, later on you'll see I've included a translation underneath in the parentheses. So wherever you see a parentheses, that's me doing that, like in this case here. Thar lay said money over a shield shotten. Okay, so sheatan, to shoot an object, to hit an object with a missile. The past participle form is shotten. Okay, so and now this example only get included because it has both the past participle form, but it's also got to have an example, at least one example of its use from that era. So here we go. There lay a warrior, many shot over shield. Yifthul warra on fell shotten, if you were hit in the flesh. Okay, I had to translate these ones. Generally, Bosworth-Toller will give you a translation, even if it's in Latin. Sometimes it doesn't. So I've had to supply your own. So that got included. Next random search, batunen. Okay, means to enclose or surround with a hedge, enclose, shut up, and so on. Its past participle form is betuned, betioned, betund, any one of those three. Okay, so looking through, I found two examples. Chelis where the shell beon betuned. The shell's close or to be surrounded with a hedge. Where se halcha wonga betuned. The holy plain was closed. Now, both of these fit the past participle form listed above. Tuned, betuned. Okay, so that's included. And these random searches, unless words were rejected because they didn't list the past participle form or because there were no examples, they were all falling into this pattern. And all it was just a random search. I wasn't picking anything out. Just I'd think up a verb in my head, go look for its old English form if I didn't know it, and then go search in Bosworth-Toller. And again, it kept hitting the mark. It was exactly as expected. Yefeachtan, to fight. The past participle form is yefochten. Their kitsia on middenvelder yefochten, though it be fought on midfield. Next example, bestanden. Past participle form is bestanden, en, to stand by or near, to stand around, surround, to stand on or upon, occupy, detain. Okay, achred me at tham the me habeth utan bestanden. Deliver me from those who have me surrounded on the outside. Okay. Thaswif was hu ein leven dagen mit gormere adler besatanden. Okay, whose wife was detained for around 40 days with severe illness. Okay, and the past participle form, bestanden, in, again here, the last word in the clause or sentence. Next example, there's a few here to go through. Garetan, to bewail, deplore, weep, and the past participle form is gareten or garaten. Okay, hutha wamsheath and hur eldius tareon gareten. How the wicked doers shall bewail their works of old. Next example, sparekan. Some of these are obvious and you'd want to check them, like to speak. That's a verb you'd want to check, isn't it? So its past participle form is spareken, speken, to speak. That arende was spareken. Okay, the message was spoken. Drinken, and its past participle form is drunken, to drink, imbibe. He tham off thamwina, tha weareth he drunken. Okay, and here in the secondary clause we have drunken. Okay, he drank of the wine, then became he drunk. Okay, past participle form has gone to the end. Gullen, to sing and chant, call. Past participle form is gullen. Tha was si leoth gullen. Then was the song of triumph sung. Okay, keep going. Beshuvan, to shove, thrust, cast, hurl, or throw, to precipitate. Another common word you might want to look for, past participle form, is shoven. You can see the consistent patterns building, and I've just got more to show you. Sail heard wereth on sab shoven. Right, the herd was cast into the sea. From Mark's Gospel. Forascendan, the past participle form is forascended, to send away, send into, banishment, banish. He werasanude forascende, he was quickly banished. Again, past participle form of the second verb goes to the end because we are speaking of events in the past, actions completed in the past, whose consequence continue into the future, into the present, in the future. Written, the past participle form is written, to write down, to write out or down, to transcribe, describe, compose. Was sebeam boksatavam written, the beam was inscribed with letters. Okay, another example, daemon, another common one, to deem, judge, think, consider, estimate, reckon, determine, examine, prove, doom, condemn. Now wasona his halchung daemon, was not decreed immediately his consecration. He wasn't consecrated immediately, poor fellow, wherever he was. All right, next one. Yotareo one. Now the past participle form ends in ed. Yotareo wed. To trust, believe, have confidence, hope. Thien your witness is werakum yeleevzum, and midsaltha is sawida yotareo wed. Okay, your testimony is a work credible and with truth is very true. Your testimony is too credible, is what it's really saying sarcastically. Singan. So look at this one. Singan, past participle form is sungen, to sing. Now, on thara halchan chirachen bith sungen, that halia yorune. Okay, now, you're wondering, well, hang on, past participle form is sungen. Didn't you say it should go to the end? How come you're saying something that's a bit different there? Why wasn't it at the end? Well, in this particular case, it is actually the past tense of the subjunctive. It's not the past participle form. It's not listed up here as the past tense of the subjunctive, but you can look it up elsewhere. So that appears to contradict everything I've been saying in this video and video number 2 in this series, but it's not, because this is not the past participle form. It's being used in the subjunctive. Bith has that sense of will be, future tense. So it's not an established or true fact. The subjunctive is being used to suggest something that might be, will be, possibly, is hoped to be. So in the Holy Church will be, we hope, we're hoping, sung the Holy Sacrament. Okay, so the subjunctive form of singen is used. Now that subjunctive form is the same as the past participle form. Okay, I'll show you that immediately. I'll demonstrate that in a moment. But just one more example, wassa witadom bafaren sungen. Now here sungen is used in the past participle form. It's gone to the end of the primary clause here. End of story. It supports the claim I've been making all along here. But I just need to establish that sungen, past tense subjunctive, is also the case. So let me do that. And I think for me to do that was this one. Will that open up? Yes, I believe it will. And it won't give me the word I want, but that's all right. So I'm using the Old English translator here, singan. So that verb now, here we are. If you have a look down here, past participle form is indeed sungen, but also the plural subjunctive, preterite tense or past tense, sungen. So the plural past tense subjunctive, okay? So they're both identical, both have the same form. Okay, they both declined the same way. So that's what was happening there. And one other thing perhaps I should show you is, where's it gone? I just want to show you bith. There's something in Wikibooks. Here we are. Bayon and wesan, the to be verb. Okay, so wesan, which is normally the present or past tense. So wesan, this form here is present and past tense, whereas bayon, which is normally in a sense future tense, will be. So bith is in a sense will be. Okay, and so that's why the subjunctive appears here. Where's it gone? So this is why the subjunctive appears here. Bith will be. This is a future tense sense here. So it's a hoped for. It's not an established fact. It's something that's hoped for, wished for, looked for, but not an established fact. Okay, so the subjunctive comes in here. So bith will be, and then subjunctive form of singan, to sing, which is sungen, which just happens to be the same as the past participle form. It's declined in the same way. This last example here is the past participle form, and the verb has gone to the end. So was the prophecy before sung? So the prophecy was sung before in the past. Okay, let's keep going. So the pattern here is consistent. If you just do a random search through Bosworth-Toller, you'll see this consistent pattern in the verbs. You'll be continually selecting. You'll find the examples will just continually come up. But the past participle, the main clause, is at the very end. There is, and you can use this method of random searching, and it must be random searching, no pick words, just random search, and any claim anywhere about the Old English language. You can verify yourself by just doing these random searches and recording what you find. That's all and there's either a pattern there supporting your claim or supporting what you've been told by someone, or there's not. It's going to be largely as simple as that. So verb in the second place, you'll be able to support that with a random search. For present tense examples where the second verb goes in its unconjugated or infinitive form at the end, you'll be able to find examples to support that. In this case, this is the past tense, so there's a consistent pattern here when speaking of actions in the past. It's the present perfect tense to put the second verb in its past participle form at the end of the clause or sentence. So here's an example. They have chosen me as leader. Hier habeth me to herren yakarren. Okay, they have me as leader chosen. All right, yakarren is the past participle form of chosen, the Old English chosen. He has fought the enemy. He have de thonafeon diafochten. Okay, he has the enemy fought. Past participle, the main verb goes at the very end. All right, and nice picture. I don't know where I got it from. Again, it's one of the nice pictures I picked up along the way, and I've got no idea where I've got it from. I apologise to whoever owns the rights to it. No offence is meant. I've just found it on the internet somewhere. It's a common enough picture. You'll see it when you look around. Very informative, though, isn't it? A Saxon burr, defensive fortification.